the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. Disney.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to our Six Screens Telenetwork. My name is Rick Farron. I'm coming to you live right outside of Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm so glad that you're coming into our program tonight. We've got a great program lined up for you guys tonight on JW World News. We're going to be talking about the top stories for 2024 in the Watchtower. By all means, stay with us. But anyways, as I said, my name's Rick Farron. I'm coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I have to tell you that we've been doing this now for 20 years. In fact, on January, another couple of weeks, January 26th, another month or so, we have been doing this program for 20 years. And I am glad to tell you, we have never missed a Saturday night. We've done this program when Susan, my wife, and I were traveling. We've done it when she was in the hospital. We never missed a Saturday night. We are here because you are here. It's very important. This is one of the only programs, in fact, the only one that I really know of, where, people on a regular basis can call in live, and they know when it's coming up every Saturday. And so they wait. They wait to call in. They come up with questions. They come up with thoughts. So thank you, audience. Thank you for being with us. Many have been with us for 20 years. But we're moving forward. We got many things to talk about. It always wasn't this way. It really, really wasn't. 20 years ago, us apostates, there weren't too many of us around then that were on YouTube. In fact, there's only 8 other YouTubers, to give you an idea. But we're here now, and we love what we do because it's helping people. It's helping people to understand how dangerous and how destructive the Watchtower organization is. Well, let me just go up here to my notes. Let's just talk a little bit before we do get into tonight's program. We have got, we have a contest here. We call it the Duck Game. We have an envelope with secret words in it and phrases. And if you call into the program and you say the secret word or the phrase that's in this sealed envelope, you win a point. Now, if you call if you say it during the course of the program, you'll get 5 points. You'll get 5 points. But if not, if we don't get anyone that got it, then what we do is we give you some clues at the end of the program tonight, and you have to keep your own score. You keep your own score, and then you be honest with me, and you say, Rick, I've got so many points. When you get 5 points, you get a book. When you get 12 points, you get $100. But I want to remind everybody that when someone wins, the points that everyone has gained and won goes back to zero. I hate to say that to you, but that's how game shows are played. So that's how we do it at the Six Screens. So, you can't, if someone wins, it goes back to zero, and we start from zero again. Just want to make that clear to everybody. Well, the other thing I want to talk about is our 2025 still alive in 2025. Now, that has to do with our convention. Well, what convention? Well, the ex-witnesses, we have a convention sponsored by the Six Screens Telenetwork. It's going to be up here in Boston. It's going to be in August of 2025. That's coming up in about 6 months from now. So you want to start making your plans, book your room. I'm going to put up a little message that you'll be able to see. It'll scroll across the bottom. And if you want more information on the convention that we're going to have August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, just take a look at the information that's going to be scrolling across the bottom. Hit sixscreensofthewatchtower.com, and that'll give you all the information you need, when it is, the hotel that you should stay in, where you can get a discount. It'll give you all the ideas that you need. It's scrolling across the bottom now. So if you can make it up, it's a great place to come up here with the family. The kids are welcome. Come up here and vacation. We got a beautiful summers up here in New England. It's nice and cool. We got Cape Cod. We got the ocean. We got the mountains. We got a lot of historical sites. It'd be great for the kids. It really would be. If you never came to New England, try to make it up here at the convention. Spend a weekend with us. We're going to have it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We have some really good guest speakers coming in. So we're looking forward to that. And on the other side of the tracks, too, when the convention's over the following week, we're going to go out and do some things together. We can all go into Boston. We can go visit some of the historical sites around here. So by all means, if you can make it up to Boston this summer, we'd love to have you. See if you can't do that. You'll be hitting your head on the doorpost on the way out. You'll be excited. Imagine what it'll be like to be with fellow ex-witnesses, people that have experienced the same things you have experienced. I mean, really, they're our real brothers and sisters. So if you can make it up here, I'm going to tell you, this will be a memorable moment in your life. That this will be very, very momentous. As you go forward, you'll never forget it. So see if you can't make it up here. Well, I'm going to go into let me just grab another sip of ginger ale here. For some reason, my throat got hoarse all of a sudden. Excuse me. So we got some top stories we'll be bringing up. But before I do that, I scanned the internet this week, and we have Brother Cook, governing body member. Within the last week or so, we did an update on JW Broadcasting, and it's really caused a big buzz. It really has caused a big buzz. Brother Cook is mentioning that evidently some of these actors and actresses, the witness actors and actresses that are in the JW videos they've been making, evidently they're getting a lot of attention. They're like little celebrities. People are walking up to them and saying, "Hey, I want to have a selfie with you. Can you sign your autograph?" This is what's happening. So it got the attention of the governing body. So Brother Cook seems to be a little perturbed about it. I mean, I think the governing body wants all the attention to go to them, right? So he's saying that, don't go up. If you know some of these people and they might be in your congregation, don't go up and ask for a selfie. Don't go up and ask for an autograph, basically is what he's saying. Don't go head over heels over these people. But he's trying to make a statement that evidently people are doing this. Now, why? What's the matter with that? Well, what's the matter really with going up to someone, their peer? They work hard. Actors and actresses work hard. That's not an easy thing to remember your line and use the right expressions. So what is really the matter with going up and saying, "Hey, sister, boy, you did really good in that Jesus movie. Oh, my goodness, you really were excellent. I enjoyed your facial expressions. Can I get a picture with you?" What, in goodness name's sake, is the matter with that? I think the governing body's jealous. I think these actors and actresses, and of course they're picking the pretty girls and the handsome brothers, and they're, they got them in these videos, so everyone's going goo-goo and gaga over them. So why? But see, the governing body's not getting the attention. They want to get all the attention. They just don't want to go anywhere else. So he's saying, don't do that. Then he says too that the actors and actresses, the witnesses, he's saying that they really don't like that. They're embarrassed when that happens. No, they're not. I think it's nice. Don't you feel good when you get a pat on the back? When you do something and someone says, "Gee, Rick, that was a good job. Oh, gee, Susan, that was a good job." Don't you feel good? I mean, what's the matter with that? Boy, the Watchtower wants to take every little bit of enjoyment or excitement or good feelings that you would get. They want to take it from you. What's the matter with this organization? I mean, do they have a heart? Are they real? I'm beginning to think that they're not real people, because real people would say, "Geez, there's nothing wrong with that." Unbelievable. So that's the only story I really wanted to talk about. There's some others, but there's kind of a quiet week in the world of the witnesses, but that seemed to be the big buzz. That seemed to be the big, yes.
Thank you. I just appreciate you bringing up the accolades that the witnesses actors are receiving. I remember when they posted a video of Brother Hurd and his wife arriving from the airport. At the airport, there were a lot of witnesses, and they were being treated like rock stars. And Brother Hurd was just grinning from ear to ear, everybody coming up to them and, oh, you're so great, and can we have a picture taken with you? And it's the same thing that I've seen at circuit conventions and district conventions, where the higher-ups in the Watchtower had throngs of witnesses around them praising them and so on. But boy, you go to the lesser ones, basically the ones they hire for actors and actresses, yeah, they're good, but you're only being used as obedient slaves, and they shouldn't be getting the attention. Watchtower governing body wants all the glory. Thank you, Rick.
Well, that's exactly right, Anne Marie. And I think that's what's going on. I really do. See, it's so sickening. It really, really is to have an organization that behaves like the Watchtower. There's nothing wrong. I know my wife, Susan, well, when she was a witness, remember the play? Do you guys remember the drama Jezebel? How could you not? It was good. I enjoyed it. So Susan played Jezebel. And, she got a lot of comments on that. And she enjoyed it. And she worked really hard to get her lines right and to be able to be an actress. And I know she did a good job. I didn't see her. I didn't know her at the time. But I know she did a really good job. And what's the matter with someone coming up and saying, gee, Susan, that was wonderful. What do the witnesses do? That they want to rob you of any little good feelings you would get in life. Who'd like to speak up? You're on with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes, Ken.
Okay. Yeah, I don't, when it comes to, actors, performers, musicians, and all that, a lot of people idolize them and everything like that, and I don't do that. I'm sure that a lot of us don't. But, I mean, what's wrong with the fact of saying that when you go to see your favorite actor or musician or whatnot, that you walk up to them, introduce yourself, and say, welcome to the community, and that you did a nice job if you really feel that way and so forth. Even if you don't feel that way, just, give them a warm welcome and everything like that. I don't see nothing wrong with that and so forth. I don't know what concern it is of the Watchtowers if somebody does that, other than that they're just being jealous because they don't get the praise and so forth. So, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong with the compliments, and talking positive about their performance or something like that. So, yeah, whatever it's worth. So,
yeah, well, it's just normal. I mean, you're not, I'm sure the witnesses aren't acting like they're meeting Taylor Swift or the Beatles. I mean, nobody's idolizing them. They're just probably going up and saying, boy, you did a good job in that video. But again, the Watchtowers, we say, they gotta stomp on everything. They gotta take any good feelings you have in life and remove them. They don't want you to have good feelings. The Watchtower does not want you to have good feelings. Well, thank you, Kim. Thank you very much for commenting.
Yeah, we'll keep listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look here. What I did is this week I looked at the top stories. We do the news here every Saturday night. And, I'm going to give you the top stories. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this is the official top stories of the Jehovah's Witness organization. You might have to draw your own conclusions on that. But where I do this every week, I got a good feeling on what got people's attention and what didn't. So that's what we got going here tonight. And what I try to do is I try to put the stories down that I see got more people calling into the program and got more attention than other stories. And some that just were really blockbusters, things that we really had to take a stop and look at it and say, wow. So we're going to start with the number 10 story, and then we're going to work down to the number 1 story for 2024 in the Watchtower. Number 10 has to do with the country of Denmark and Iceland. And I like this story. It got a lot of buzz here on the 6 screens because what Iceland and Denmark are doing is they're trying to look at the example of the Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway. Now, we know the problems Jehovah's Witnesses have had in Norway, and we'll talk about that a little later on as well. But Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway, just to cut to the chase here, they got in big time trouble because of their shunning. I'm just going to go in here and make sure we got people muted. The best thing to do is when you're not talking, you want to mute yourself. That makes it so much easier for me. So just kind of hang in there, and then we can talk about some of these things that will be of interest. So I'm just gonna mute you guys. They're in here right now. They're unmuted. That way, there's not a lot of noise on the line. But in Norway, for example, it was back in 2023, not 24. But in Norway, what happened is the Jehovah's Witnesses, because of their shunning, because they shun people, and especially young people, the country of Norway got ticked off. They said, we give you guys money. We give you $1 million, and it was like $1.5 million a year, and you can be a religion here. But, now that you shun people and you're hurting, especially young people, we don't want to give you the money anymore. I mean, that was the basic premise of the Norwegian government. They said, because you don't fit the role of a good Christian religion. You don't fit the role of any religion. You don't hurt family members. So the Watchtower lost $1 million and close to $1.5 million because of this. So now we see Denmark. That's why I brought this in as a top story, because it might have a lot of legs on it. Denmark and Iceland are now looking at Norway's example against the Jehovah's Witnesses. And we'll have more to say about Norway coming up on our news tonight. But I think it's really good that the citizens of Norway, the citizens of Denmark and Iceland, they're trying to put together a petition. They're trying to get the government of Denmark and Iceland to say, that's it. We don't want Jehovah's Witnesses shunning people in the country, giving them money. I'm just going to, okay. Okay, if someone would like to speak up, go ahead. What do you think?
Rick?
Yes.
Rick, Jeff from New York. Hi.
Yes, Jeff.
Jeffrey or Jay?
Jay. Yes, Jay. Yep.
First of all, I want to thank you for thank Pixie for sending me the card. It came right on Christmas Day. It really made me feel good. And it was brought by one of the Orthodox people here. It's strange, but you say the truth. You're a straight shooter. You say it the way it is. They don't like straight shooters in the Watchtower because it makes them look bad and makes them look corrupt, which they have shown themselves to be. And they do this brain trick, mind trick, like they do in China. They brainwash people when they're in that Kingdom Hall, and you don't even know what hit you. I'm talking from my own experience. And they're not a caring, loving people. The pictures are nice, they print, but they're very bad imitators of love, and they're just imitators of hate. They give hate to people, and they serve the devil very well. I'm sure the devil loves the witnesses, the uppers, because they're evil, vicious thieves. They rob every old lady. Anytime they got a Bible study going, down the road, we'll get $500,000 or we'll get money from that people, like happened in my life. But I'm not angry. I'm just letting people know. I love what Denmark's doing. And I come from Holland, and they got over there the same thing. People are speaking and tired of going. It's not that it's a $1 billion book industry. It's now a sadistic, satanic, evil, non-loving, unchristian, godless organization, and they really, believe me, I believe down the road and very soon they're gonna maybe under Trump, they will find themselves in trouble because they're violating basic human rights, and they're messing up young kids' minds, and they're bringing on mental illness by isolating people. You're isolating a a woman just because she made a little mistake, and then you go ahead and you wonder why they commit suicide, and you won't even have a funeral because of that. These are the things that I don't mean to get so talkative, but I want people to know I'm not talking. I'm not being paid to talk. This is me, Jeff, from New York, formerly Jay. Now I use my right name. I'm not afraid of them. I want to bury them, and in time, believe me, they will be buried. They will pay a price. If the only price they can pay is when the media gets to realize more in New York that they're not loving and caring, they will be put down. And thank you for letting me talk. And remember, this is Jeff from New York, formerly Jay. I say it the way it is because they're no good, and I'm the guy that gets so mad I can't take it no more. Well, I can take it more. I want to see them buried. Thank you.
Well, Jay, always good to hear from you. Thank you. We wish you a good new year, Jay. We hope things all go well for you. Thank you for dialing into our program tonight. Well, that's our good friend Jay. He used to have a program here on the Six Screens. He held the program for 2 years called Watchtower Behind Closed Doors, and we miss Jay. Thank you, Jay. Well, see, he said it just like the country of Denmark and Finland. They're now looking into the witnesses as Norway has because of what they do. They hurt people. Why would a country, friends, want to have a religion that's hurting people? Do you realize what that does for the money in that country? If you have an organization that hurts people, that means they're going to split families up. Now, what happens when families get split up? You have the husband, he wants to be a witness, the wife doesn't. They break up, the wife gets the kids, the wife's minding kids, she has no money, the country has to pay. Countries don't need witnesses. Countries want to keep families together. When they keep families together, the country doesn't have to spend so much money. So, countries, I'm glad. But that's not the only country. In fact, a number of countries are now catching up. And I mention that all the time on JW World News. We have a number of countries. We have, Denmark and Finland. We have Germany now is investigating the witnesses. France investigating the witnesses. United Kingdom investigating them. We have Belgium. We have Norway, as we say. And there's a bunch more. Czechoslovakia is another one. I believe they don't go by that name anymore. I believe it's Slovakia. But anyways, they don't go along with the witnesses anymore. So all these countries are starting to come down on the Jehovah's Witnesses. They're realizing what they are. They're not a religion. They're a cult, and they're hurting people. So that I don't have too much to say about that. But anyways, I put that as our number 10 story. That got the most buzz. Well, when I brought that up, people liked that. They liked it that other countries were now following suit, and we're going to cut the money off. From the Watchtower. Well, let's take a look at the number 9 story. Let's take a look at the number 9 story for 2024 in the Watchtower. And this one really caught a lot of attention when we brought it up. It was back in April that we brought it up. And we brought up the fact that, in fact, it's been all over the net, all over the forums, low attendance in the kingdom halls, assembly halls, and even the conventions is actually making the Watchtower shut down more congregations. So, yes, we have congregations all around the world that are being shut down. They're actually compressing. They take one congregation that doesn't have a lot of people. They move that in with another congregation, sell the Kingdom Hall off. We've talked about this all year long, and it's done nothing but get more and more congregations being consolidated and being done away with. And then, too, back in 2023, a lot of you folks probably had friends. Maybe you were even in one of these foreign language groups, and they did away with that. And that was 40 years. They had these foreign language groups where many witnesses would learn Chinese, they would learn Cambodian, Spanish, whatever it would be. And these were English-speaking brothers and sisters, and they would go in to a foreign language Kingdom Hall and work with the brothers there. Well, that's gone poof. That was back in 2023, but that no longer exists. They shut it down because there wasn't enough participation. So, friends, I have to say, as I said back in April, the truth is really downsizing. God's organization is not growing. I want you to get that in your head. Of course, they're going to tell you, oh, we're growing like crazy. Jehovah's chariot is moving forward. No. How can an organization be growing when they're shutting Kingdom Halls down, when they're selling assembly halls off? How can they be growing? They can't be growing. So, they're lying to us. The Watchtower always has to make it sound like, they are moving forward and everything's wonderful. And they have to do that. If they didn't do that, who would want to be a witness? Who would want to go out in service? Who would want to man a cart? Nobody would want to do that. Why? Because there's nothing happening. And I'll tell you right now, because of what many PMOs are seeing, many actually PMEs, people are still loyal to the Watchtower. Many PMEs, as we're getting reports coming into the 6 screens, they're having mental breakdowns. Now think about it. Put yourself in there. Suppose you're still a loyal Jehovah's Witness and you love Jehovah and you love the organization. And now all of a sudden, you're seeing all of this happening. You're seeing the child abuse cases escalating. You're seeing the witnesses being in trouble from some of these countries. It could cause a mental breakdown, couldn't it? So really, the Kingdom Halls around the world will continue to consolidate. They'll do it on purpose to sell them off. And look at these PMEs, the people that are loyal. They've given a lifetime to the Watchtower organization, and now all they have, and they see it so blatantly clear, all they're getting from the Watchtower now is lies and broken promises. It's a sad story. It's a sad, sad story. And, when the PMEs, they're seeing the child sex abuse problems that the witnesses are encountering, don't think they're just oblivious to all of this. This has been going on for numerous years here now, and especially with the CSA probe in Pennsylvania. That's ongoing. The witnesses are seeing this. You can't hide this. Just punch child sex abuse into Google and Jehovah's Witnesses. You'll see it. It's an ever-ending amount of information that comes forward concerning it. And the organization is in disrepair. They are in life support right now. They're really on. They're in the ICU. They really, really are. And you're seeing the attendance levels. People write me all the time, Rick, Kingdom Hall, look at the attendance. It's noticeably low. People aren't going out in field service anymore. Kingdom Halls, people are getting shot up. We talked about how dangerous it is even to be a witness through 2024. And we had so many killings back in 23, not necessarily in 24, but back in 23, well, we had a number of Jehovah's Witnesses that were killed out in service. We had, of course, the Germany attack on the Kingdom Hall. The man that actually was a disfellowship man came back and killed 7 or 8 people in Germany. We had the India bombing. That's all back in 23. But the reason why I bring that up, the repercussions of it are now going into 2024. A lot of people that, heard of this stuff, they're saying, geez, is it really dangerous to be a Jehovah's Witness? And the little line I always would use, I'd say that, if you're going to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, send me an invitation to your funeral. Now, I know that sounds a little overboard, but, for a while there, it was really true. People were getting bumped off. One man shot back in 2023 while he was waiting for the service group in his car. Back in 2022, there was a Kingdom Hall bombing where the man drove his wife to the meeting in Colorado and threw a pipe bomb through the window. Unfortunately, it didn't go off. If it did, some people would have been killed. And, of course, we had the bombing in India in 2023. So, this is not, I'm not making this stuff up. It could be very dangerous to be a Jehovah's Witness today. And you say, well, why? You might say, Rick, I disagree with that. It's dangerous just to live today. I get that. But, think about it. This Watchtower organization has caused so many problems for people. They've hurt so many people. I mean, they've sent a lot of people over the edge. A lot of people have got really bad feelings toward the Watchtower. Even that man that went into Germany, that Kingdom Hall in Germany, and shot the people up, the witnesses up, he was just fellowship. And he was doing it basically for revenge. Now, I'm not ever advocating anybody do that. But don't you think that the PMEs, the loyal witnesses, all of this stuff is starting to sink in? They're saying, my God, look what's going on in our organization. It would scare me. If I was still a witness, a loyal witness, I wouldn't have my children. I wouldn't have my 2 daughters. I used to let them go out and pioneer, 16, 17 years old. I wouldn't do that today. You serious? But all the perverts and pedophiles and nutcase people just knocking on doors at random, I wouldn't have my daughters do it. You're not going to pioneer. If you're going out in service, you're going to go with me. So I'm sure this is happening. This has got to be happening. Witnesses are seeing it. Really. I'm not trying to, overemphasize. I'm not trying to embellish. I'm just being realistic. This is not the same organization. This organization has got monumental issues. So I wanted to bring that story up. That's number 2. That's number 2. And that, of course, has to do with the low attendance, shutting down more congregations. They are seeing it because of all the problems the Watchtower is encountering. If anyone has any thoughts on that, you'd like to speak up, go ahead, hit *6 on your telephone pad. Come on.
Yeah,
So,
Mr. Farron?
yes, Ken.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I listened to with interest the information on the declining membership. Even years ago, when they did a good job in covering up the facts. Even years ago in the 70s and 80s and everything like that, especially around the 80s, they would be talking about how much their organization was increasing and so forth. And they were talking about how the Kingdom Hall building was going good, but they never would tell you how many people would leave the organization. And according to some information that I picked up, that they used to have local conventions up here. I forget what they call them, but local conventions. And they said as many as one of their conventions fall away every year, continually, and so forth. And so they were losing membership back then. But now, this day and age, the truth is all out and the facts are all out. They are declining like you wouldn't even believe, making the decline look just like it didn't happen years ago, but they're really declining this day and age. So whatever it's worth and so forth, they've always tried to, like you say all the time, try to cook the books and all that, and just give one side of the story.
Well, that's what they do. They give one side. But Ken, really, in the witness world today, the zeal and the enthusiasm is gone. I know at one time, even when I was a witness, I had zeal. I had enthusiasm. That's gone today. The witnesses don't have it. It's not like it was back in the 1990s. It's affecting the witnesses big time. They don't want to go out in service. They don't want to really even go to the meetings anymore. So they're really seeing a drop off. And, why wouldn't there be? You know, Ken, you study religion, you love the Bible. I mean, we know darn well that the Watchtower's time-based prophecies have failed over and over again. We know that. I mean, even if a person isn't a religious scholar, the things the Watchtower said about their prophecies is a failure, a complete failure. Plus, people seeing about the CSA, child sex abuse scandals. They see the cruel policies that are going on in the witness world. They don't want to be part of this. They don't know what to do. They know if they leave, they're going to be in trouble. But anyways, that's our second story. That's number 9. Number 9 on the list of what's going on for stories in the Watchtower for 2024.
Rick,
Yes.
I wanted to add into that comment about Kenneka and the Bethelite actors.
Yeah.
It's the same way with American Sign Language in the video department. People are starting to idolize and praise the people on the ASL videos. It's going to be much, much worse in sign language translation of that new video, the new Jesus movie thing that's going on. If they succeed on it and stuff, it's going to get much, much worse. People will be idolizing and praising even the sign language community, even in the deaf and American Sign Language community would get that problem.
Yeah, well, no doubt. I mean, it's something that could come back and really hurt the Watchtower, not letting any of their actives get any accolades. Well, thank you. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All righty. Well, good to hear from all you folks tonight. We're so glad you're listening in tonight. You're on JW World News. This is the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we talk about it every Saturday night and every other Sunday right here on the Six Screens Telenetwork. All right, let's look at number 8. We're counting down the top stories in the Watchtower for 2024. Number 8. Now, this isn't like some story arrangement here, top story. I go what I do, and I feel pretty confident about it. I do the news every Saturday night. I got to feel what gets people's attention. And number 8 certainly got people's attention. And it has to do with Japan. They are now putting the witnesses under the microscope. And that microscope that they're looking through, they're looking at Jehovah's Witnesses, not just, abusing their children sexually. The Japan government was more concerned about the Jehovah's Witnesses abusing their children in a corporal punishment way, physically abusing them. And in March last year, 2024, there was a study done on Jehovah's Witnesses, and a number of Jehovah's Witnesses came forth in a survey that the Japanese government put out, and they were very concerned about what goes on in the Jehovah's Witness religion. Now, let me put it this way. One time, the Jehovah's Witnesses were very strong religion in Japan. They have lost a lot of ground, and now Japan is really looking at how much of an evil organization they are and what they do to their children. Now, what Japan was basically concerned with, they did a survey on children being whipped, beat, physically by their parents. And this really alarmed the Japanese government to look more into what's going on in the Jehovah's Witness world. Now, I have to tell you that 70% of the Jehovah's Witnesses in Japan actually, I guess, participated in this survey. So it was quite a bit of them. And the Japanese government was not happy on all of these children that were whipped when they were little kids. You don't pay attention to the meeting, your mother and father would take you out back and whip you. And also the Japanese government did not like the idea of the Jehovah's Witnesses regarding their blood policy for their children. Little children could end up dying because of it. So Japan, even as we speak, have the Jehovah's Witnesses under the microscope. And but basically, I'll tell you, the main thing the Japanese government was concerned about is corporal punishment. Parents actually unloading, whipping, flogging, beating, whatever you want to call it. How it's so commonplace in the Jehovah's Witness religion. And Japan is not happy about it. So they've got more and more witnesses coming in. As a matter of fact, one reason why this even got the Japanese government's attention is a senator. His name is Mizu Umera, and he's a Japanese second-generation Jehovah's Witness. He's not one now, but he's a senator in Japan. in the government. And consequently, he said, wow, I'm going to really push this issue. So we give credit to him because he's getting the Japanese government. And look at all these countries. Don't you feel good? We should all be doing the happy dance because this makes us all feel good that the Jehovah's Witnesses are coming under the microscope. They're beginning to look at. Go ahead, you run with us. What would you like to say?
Yeah, this is Thomas Huss from Lawrence, Kansas here.
Yes.
I'm really thrilled to know about all these other countries. It seems like more and more are coming on board to go after Watchtower. I just hope somehow, some way, that we can get it done here in the United States because there's a lot of JWs over here. They claim there's around 1 million or a little more here in the U.S. So I hope that before much longer, we'll see them jump on the bandwagon, do the same thing, and just really put the horsepower to and go after these bums.
You got it, Thomas. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. I know you're a pretty astute guy. You follow this. Now, in Japan, what percentage? Now, they had a survey. A lot of Jehovah's Witnesses came forward. So what percentage of Jehovah's Witnesses in Japan do you think were beaten by their parents when they were little kids? Give me a percentage.
Okay. I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say 70%. I bet it's a pretty good number.
It is 70%. You hit it right on the nose. Yeah.
Okay.
Good for you. Good for you. I mean, that's good. That was a wild guess, but you got it. You really, I want you to give yourself a point for that, okay? Keep your points now. I want you to give yourself a point for that. All right. Yeah, 70%.
There's so many.
Yeah, go ahead, Pixie.
There's so many cases on the docket right now. They threw one case out, and the court couldn't figure out about the governing body. They said, well, what kind of authority do these people actually have? They don't have any legal authority. And so it's doing things legally that are very different from the history that the witnesses previously had in U.S. law. I got a third call today from a Pioneer friend bragging about the party they had. So the Pioneers had a party 2 days after Worldly Christmas, and he bragged about what a good time he had. I've heard this 3 different years, and everybody got a bag of food at the end of the party. And I'm like, well, that's kind of a class system that the Pioneers had a big bacchanal, and we're supposed to sit home and be Puritans. And if we do see our family, we're not supposed to brag about it. He was bragging about it. And I just thought that was very, very different. And when I look at these legal cases, I think 2025 is going to be a very interesting year for JW crimes. Can we say that?
Well, I agree with you, Pixie. Even in view of some of the stories you have coming downstream here tonight, it does appear that you're an astute woman. You run the ball. It could be a big year. We might even see a governing body member too being arrested. Now, whether they go to jail or not, I'm not sure. But I think that we could see the first arrest of a governing body member coming up this year in 2025.
It could happen. It's not going to be boring, that's for sure. And the other thing I was looking at this month, so many of the shopping malls, even in capital cities all over the country, Washington, D.C., and other big cities, north, south, east, west, so many of the shopping malls have changed. People are shopping differently. People don't have the money for a lot of shopping. If there's anything that anybody needs, if they can afford to, get the socks and underwear now, because it looks like those tariffs are going to be in place. So 2025 is going to be a different year.
I'm with you. I think in many respects, we're going to see some big changes in the government, I think for the better. But also we're going to see the Watchtower coming under tremendous amounts of scrutiny. Pixie, always good to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Well, that's Pixie. We appreciate her calling in. All right. So any other thoughts on that? What do you think about Japan? Is there anybody who listened to this program that was beat as a little kid? Did your mother or father beat you up because you weren't sitting still at the meeting? Did you have grandparents that were kind of mean to you who were Jehovah's Witnesses? Go ahead, don't be bashful. Speak up. I mean, we know when we had that program and talked about it a few months ago, we had a lot of people call in. So before we leave the subject, I'd just like to know if anyone listening to this program tonight.
Mr. Farron?
Yes, go ahead, Stefan.
Hi. Stephen from Illinois.
Yeah.
We got beat routinely, especially just like you said at the meetings. Little kids expected to sit for, back then, I think it was 2 hours or even more. I go back as far as we even had intermissions on the Thursday night meeting. We had, I think it was a 15, 20-minute intermission. Then you would go back for the second half of the meeting. And so you're fully expected to sit there through all of that and the Watchtower and then the long, 8-hour convention days or however long they were. And if you didn't, they'd take you in the back and they'd beat the living, out of you. And I remember I had a buddy named Simon. His mom was a single mom, and there was a bunch of them. It was probably six of those kids, but she was routinely reaching across the aisle and slapping one upside the head and punching one in the chest and all of that if they fell asleep. And we even had one, the last Kingdom Hall that I attended. This woman's son was special needs, but she was so vicious in the way she would discipline him. I went to the Kobe because I couldn't take it. I went to the Kobe and I said, listen, if you're not going to say something and address this and say something to this woman about the way she's mistreating her kids, I said, I will. And I guarantee you, you're not going to like it when I say it, because I don't care how this thing goes down. I'll even call the police. This is abuse. This lady is beating the living hell out of this kid just because he can't sit still. And he's special needs. These other kids are not special needs. They can't sit still. What makes you think he can? And you guys think it's funny. You laugh. Nobody says anything. But she was just, it was abuse. So, my hat's off to Japan and anybody else. And they finally grew a pair, and they sat down with her and it progressively began to change. But up to that point, nobody said a word because it's almost just sort of baked into the culture of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, thank you for stepping forward, Stefan, because that's true. And, even in the information I have here about Japan, the Japanese government, I mean, they are really ticked off. This isn't just, a slap on the wrist. They're really, the Japanese, first of all, the Japanese have a different culture than we have. In Japan, the policemen, it's not like here. They're friendly. They don't hardly ever make any arrests. Nobody really gets in big time trouble. There's very little. In fact, I think of all the countries in the world, I think Japan has the least amount of crime. Now, what does that mean for the Watchtower? It means that you don't beat kids up. The Japanese government's totally ticked about it. So here's, this is another thing that in doing this story that I stumbled over that really was really a bald-faced lie by the Watchtower in a couple of instances. So the Japanese government asked the officials of the Watchtower if this happens in their religion, and of course the Watchtower said no. But I'm going to point my finger here at Jeffrey Jackson. And I do remember this. Maybe you guys can remember it too. It was back in 2016, 17, right around the Royal Commission, when Jeffrey Jackson took the seat at the Royal Commission to answer questions. And he was asked if Jehovah's Witnesses actually involve themselves with corporal punishment on their children. And he answered blatantly, no, it doesn't happen. We all know what happens. That was a lie. And the Watchtower, they wanted us to be so honest. The Watchtower wanted us to, dot all the I's, cross all the T's, put our seatbelts on, make sure we don't break any laws. And look at what they are doing. Look what they are doing. Bald-faced lying to the government. So I want to bring that up. So that was our story. That was number 7, was it? Yeah, number 7 in the story. Did you want to say something? Go ahead. If you want to speak up, go ahead. You're on with us. I would love to hear what you have to say. This is your program. If you have,
Hi, Rick.
Hi, how are you? Who's this? I'm good.
This is Brother Billy Curtis again.
Yes, Billy. Yes, I got your information. I looked that over. You're an amazing man. You do a lot of work.
I'm not amazing. You trying to get me killed? Only God is good, you know. But no, I wanted to. You're talking about Japan and all that, and I'm listening to the last couple of programs that you guys had. But I could not contribute because everybody did such a great job, and there's nothing I could add to what they were saying because they were experts. You was talking about Bethel and all this and the other, but I was wanting to bring something to your attention, and it's not just Japan; it's everywhere. That I've never seen any Jehovah's Witnesses people, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses people deal with. And that issue is Masonic manipulation. These guys are trained Masons, Luciferians, and they are trained to use manipulative languages, such as you misremembered, you misheard, you misthought, you misspoke. And when they use that kind of language, it identifies them by what they actually are. And I know you're aware of the pedophilia. They close down Kingdom Halls and they say, oh, well, the need was greater in a different area. No, they're dealing with child abuse lawsuits and shutting down halls because they got to pay out these cases, So, but they use things like that. And when they do that, it identifies them as a Mason. So, using that language that they use, and of course you're aware of the two witness rule and all of the other things that I'm not aware of that I have. And by the way, I am a former Jehovah's Witness, so you know. And I was in it for 8 years, and I contacted David from Virginia, and we spoke a little bit. And I just thought you should know. But so I am a victim of the Watchtower. I was disfellowshipped. I have been through all that stuff. But I just expanded everything to a whole bunch of different other things. Besides that, and you specialize in that, and I can't knock you for it because you're so good at that. But you need to be aware of the Masonic manipulation. And I heard y'all speaking about the Illuminati and all that. And C.T. Russell and his uncle, William Huntington Russell, who started Skull and Bones of Yale, are all of the Russell bloodline. In the work of Fritz Springmeier, the 13 bloodlines of the Illuminati, helps you guys understand that. And Fritz has been through a great deal of things. He should be declared an American hero. I'm surprised he's still alive, that they haven't killed him.
Well, I'll tell you what. In fact, Fritz, him and I are good friends. We have a convention coming up here in August. Fritz is coming up. He's going to give some talks. He has his own program here in the 6 Screens. It's not a regular program. He comes on about every 3 or 4 months. But he's a good guy. He's spoken up so many times here. We had him come on, and it's amazing. He knows an awful lot. He really does.
Well, I love him, and I love Deborah Tavares. I love Dr. John Campbell on YouTube about the jabs and all that. And I've tried to contact a whole bunch of other people. I don't want to go off the subject too much, okay? But anyway, I just thought I should bring the Masonic manipulation thing to your attention. And did you get all of my emails?
I got them, yes. In fact, there's a lot there that's very fascinating that you do this type of work. I give you credit. Good work.
Well, I just I'm grateful you got it. That's all I wanted to know, really. And I wanted to make you aware of that other subject as well as the Masonic manipulations. They're manipulative language. Try to make you think you're crazy. You know what I mean? And it identifies them as a Mason every time that they use it. It's something that I've done that I've never seen anyone or any other witness exposing channel do. And I used it against them a few times now. But look, I'm glad you got the stuff. I'm glad I made you aware of that. I'm gonna get offline, get out you guys' way. I didn't fit into anything else you guys said last couple programs. I don't mind keeping my mouth shut. So I just sit here and listen and enjoy it.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you for coming in. Thank you for the emails too. Stay in close. Don't be a stranger now. Come back and talk to us. Thank you. All right. Well, we're counting down here. Here is the end of the year. We're counting down the top stories in the Watchtower for the year 2024. And I'm glad you're with us. And you can comment on some of these stories, and we can kind of give our thoughts on what's going on in the Watchtower organization for this year. So I'm just going to mute some people here just to make sure we got the lines clear. All right, there we go. Yeah, what happens, folks, when you do call into the program, you have to hit *6, but when you're done speaking, hit *6 again, and that keeps the lines nice and clear. So if you could do that, that could save me a lot of work. So does someone want to speak up? If not, I'm gonna mute this person right now. So you mute. Don't hit *6. Stay nice and clear. All right, let's keep counting down to the top stories for 2024 in the Watchtower organization. And like I say, these stories are based on the amount of hype, the amount of attention, the amount of people that called into the program when I brought them up. Now, I'm going to tell you right off the bat that we're going to go back to April. We're going to go back to the memorial. Now, the memorial celebration was held in April last year for the Jehovah's Witnesses. And I'm going to put a little picture up here, and you'll see it. Well, I go to the memorial every year, but I go to protest. And you can see, you can see those signs on your screen right now. We were protesting in front of the convention center here in Andover, Massachusetts, the Doubletree Hotel. And I had a number of people from the Six Screens working with me. We have a protest team, and they were working with me. And we were able to put those signs out in front of the convention center. So as the witnesses went by, they've seen them. And as you folks know, I protested a lot of these events. But what was really interesting about Memorial this year is so many people were tuning in. We had over 10,000 people watch these videos we were doing, and we had a bunch of people on live stream as well. And they wanted to they wanted to see what were the Jehovah's Witnesses wearing, and were the men actually having beards. Now, this would have been, well, let me put it this way to you. It was announced by Stephen Lett in December of 2023 that Jehovah's Witness men could now have beards. And then shortly afterwards, in 2024, it was announced that Jehovah's Witness women could now wear pantsuits or slacks. And so consequently, it was a big thing this year. Everybody was tuning in to see what the Jehovah's Witnesses were wearing to the memorial. Were the women actually wearing pants? Well, I have to tell you, we got videos of it, and they were actually... the women were wearing pants. Some of them had just like leisure pants on, and there were a number of brothers with beards. So, people were very interested in that. That got a real buzz when we did that protest, and even when we talked about it the following Saturday night. So I'll put the memorial for really getting attention at number 7 on the list of top stories in the Watchtower for 2024. Did you get a chance to go to your memorial? I know a lot of ex-witnesses still go. Some of them, just go to their parents or their relatives are still witnesses, so they go to the memorial just to satisfy them. But what I really found is so many witnesses are so phony when it comes to the memorial. And we've had special programs about that. We talked about it. They all got to get to the memorial. That's like their Easter service, right? They all dress their best and they all head off to the memorial and they all want to be part of it. But they don't take the wine, they don't take the bread. Now that's the craziest thing. And if a person was a witness, if a person was not a witness and was a Christian and they went to the memorial, they would say, that's weird. Why are they just neglecting to take the bread and the wine? Well, friends, we've talked about it so many times. That's what you're supposed to do. If you're a follower of Christ, that would be a Christian. When Jesus, he instructed his people to take that, but the witnesses do just the opposite. And I think it's really despicable. I really do. But yet the witnesses, it goes right over their head. They don't see it. They don't get it. So did you guys go to the memorial? Anybody out there go to the memorial this year? Did you see women in pantsuits or slacks? Did you see men with beards? Anyone out there got the guts to speak up here tonight on the 6 screens? Go ahead. Don't be a stranger. We'd love to hear from you. All right. That's okay. We'll go on. So anyways, let's see what we're doing. Let's go down to number 6. Let's go down to number 6. These I'm saying are the top stories in the Watchtower. Number 6. Number 6 has to do with the governing body. Now, this is a big story. You probably say, well, Rick, it should come down lower on the list. It should be down to number 2 or 1 even. But I didn't make it that. I kept it at number 6. And the reason why I kept it at number 6 is because it's still going on. Now, in November, the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, they're a named defendant in a New York court child sex abuse case. Yeah, the plaintiff is actually the governing body of New York. Now, this is the first time ever that I can remember doing this program that they are actually the defendant. I'm sorry, they're not the plaintiff, but they're the defendant. The Watchtower is now under the gun with the governing body members. A ministerial servant in a New York congregation was molesting young children, and the governing body was aware of it, from what I understand, and they went along with it. And because they did, now the court system is calling the governing body, because they were evidently aware of this, that they want the governing body in court to answer these charges. So this is going to be big. I'm saying we're going to hear more about it. It just kind of popped up in November, so it hasn't really been brought to fruition yet. So we'll be watching that case very, very closely. And the name's the governing body of Warwick, New York. So it could be a big problem for these guys. It really, really could be. And I'm really looking forward to see what happens here. This could result in an arrest of a governing body member. If they get in and they're not prepared properly and they don't have the right counsel and they say one wrong thing, the state of New York could arrest a governing body member. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I wish it would. I mean, all of us listening to this program tonight wish it would happen. But this is the first time in my 20 years of doing JW World News that the defendant is actually the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. That is when I saw that, I really flipped out. So this is good, friends. Friends, we should all be so happy. This organization has really destroyed so many families, including even my family. I got some getting out now, but there's still family members that won't talk to me. And how heinous is that? And you're listening into this program tonight. You also, I'm sure, experiencing a similar thing. Some of your family members and relatives and good friends have just distanced themselves. That is one of the cruelest punishments a person can have. So our heart goes out to you. So that's why we do this program every Saturday night. These guys are evil, and I want the world to know about it. I want them to know how destructive and how dangerous this Jehovah's Witness organization is. So when I see the governing body being named as a defendant in a court case, that brings glad tidings to me, and it should bring glad tidings to you. We've never seen this before. We are now, as we were talking earlier, we are seeing governments coming down the witnesses. We are seeing judicial, governmental hearings on the Jehovah's Witnesses. These guys are in deep trouble. They think they got away with a lot of things in the past years, but this is now catching up on them. So what do you think? Do you think it's good? Do you think that this could result in something big? Are you happy to hear that officials of the Watchtower, governing body members, are actually going to be defendants? Well, they better show up. I mean, you know what happens if you don't show up for court, right? Default. So, if the governing body members don't show up, they'll default. Now, a number of things could happen in a legal case like this. What could happen is the court will say, okay, they defaulted, fine them $200,000. Well, the Watchtower might elect to just continue to be fined. They've done this before in other court cases. They don't want anybody showing up that might put the organization in jeopardy. And of course, we know they use war strategy, which is their lying decree. They will lie to further Jehovah's kingdom. So I'm really going to be paying close attention to this, and we're going to be watching this as it comes up this year. We're going to be watching it very, very closely. I had to bring it up as a story, as one of the top stories. We've covered hundreds of stories here on JW World News, but I have to bring that up. That got a lot of attention, not only from me, but I mean a lot of people that called in on it and talked about it. So I think that's great. What would you like to say? You're on with us.
Hi, hello, Mr. Farron.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good news that there's starting to be new developments towards investigating the Watchtower, taking them to court, and so forth. And we had some good news not long ago on similar cases. The Watchtower Society tried to say that you couldn't sue them and so forth, so they were exempt from lawsuits. But the appeals court said, no, you are liable. If you committed a crime or something like that, you are liable. You can be sued. That was in New York and so forth. And so I'm glad to hear that they're being investigated. This is what my hopes was for a long time, because like I've always said when I come on here, there's laws on the books to protect us from the Watchtower abuses that have been going on, but they're not enforced. So it's about time that the government wakes up and the public wakes up and starts bringing these people to justice. That's very good news to me, and kudos to the government of New York, and kudos to anybody that's going to crack down on the Watchtower Society.
Well, thank you for saying that, Ken. I'm glad you're on board with us. And I know that most of our audience, if not all, I know we do have some P&Es listening in here tonight. They're still physically, and they might not believe all of this. You're probably saying, oh, there goes Rick again, bloviating and making stories up. This is not made up, friends. In fact, if you want to look the case up, yes.
Here, Jay from New York. A question, if I could, regarding this. Why are, if they were aware of a crime and they covered it up, why are they not being criminally charged as a crime? Because in New York State, I believe if you're aware of a crime, it's a felony, and this is from a judicial standpoint.
Well, the reason is it hasn't gone to court yet. This has just happened the last month or so, Jay. So the charges have been brought up, but now they got to go to court and answer this. So that's why we're going to be following it this year. But the court case has not come up yet. The charges have been made, but the court hasn't adjourned to discuss it. Yep.
And they didn't. And the criminal, it's going to be a civic case.
Well, in other words, nobody, everyone has their due process. So, you just can't go knock on the door of the Watchtower and arrest them and bring them to justice everyone gets their due process. So the Watchtower is being given due process. And I don't know what date, it doesn't show here in the transcript that I have, but sometime probably be, well, the way the courts move, they move very slowly, but I would project somewhere around April or May that, they'll be brought into court. And I hope the governing body shows up. And if they don't, I hope the court really throws the book at them because they're named to be there. And, in any other court case, if you don't show up, you default. That means you're guilty. So I'm going to see how this works out. This is something we wouldn't want to follow.
One final question, if
Yeah.
I could ask you.
Yeah.
What it was involving a ministerial servant, right?
Yes.
And he was in charge. They won't give his name.
Yeah, they gave his name. They did give his name. Let me see. Let me go back and see. It's a transcript. No, let me see if his name is here. Hold on one second. Let me see if his name is here. Kings Highway. Ronald Mark Harding. Ronald Mark Harding. Does that ring a bell with you? I know you're from New York.
A little bit. How old is he? In his 20s or?
Well, actually, I'm not going to say he was an old man, but it doesn't give his age, but it says he was molesting children. He was molesting children from 1991 to 1994. Yep. The congregation. I'll give you the congregation. Maybe you know the congregation. King's Highway Congregation.
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. And his name was, I got the years, 91 to what?
He was molesting children from 1991 to 1994. Ronald Mark Harding, Brother Harding.
Some brother.
Yeah.
Some brother there.
Yeah.
Thanks for the info.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. Thanks for calling in, Jay. So here we have it. The Watchtower, see what they've done in the past when the governing body. Now, this is the first time, like I say, I see them as a defendant. But whenever they were challenged or officials of the Watchtower went to court, the Jehovah's Witness organization or the officials would always claim that they're not a hierarchical organization. Now, don't let that word scare you. See, if you're a hierarchical organization, that means that everything comes from the top and trickles down. And so when they go into court and they have a man or even a woman, it could be, who's committed pedophilia, of course, what they try to do is they try to disconnect themselves from the person. So they say, well, that's not us. We're not hierarchical. But we know darn well the Watchtower is hierarchical. All of their control comes from the top and goes down. But they'll tell the court, no, we're not hierarchical. That was, just because that guy did it, we're not responsible. But they're the ones that make the rules. They're the ones that make the policies. So, yes, they are hierarchical. I tell you what, this organization really has to be investigated, and they are being investigated. So that's a very good thing. So, we have not only, I could go into even this week, there's more pedophilia out in California. There's a witness out there. His bail was just set so high, you can't even believe it. I forget what it was. I think his bail is Jehovah's Witness man. I believe he was an elder. I'm not sure on that, but I believe he was an elder. And his bail was set at over $700,000. So, this guy's guilty. He's not getting out until they go to court. But, this is what I'm not going to even get into that story tonight, maybe next week. But I go through this every week. Every week I go through news articles about Jehovah's Witness pedophiles. And the average witness is seeing this. They're seeing how bad this organization is. Unreal. Well, you're welcome, Jay. Thank you. You're on JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. So let's move down. Let's see what, we're moving down to number 1. We're going to go to number 5. That was number 6. The governing body being named as the defendants in a court of law. Let's move down to number 5. Number 5, top story in the Watchtower for 2024. And this has to do with disfellowshipping. They're changing it. They're not calling it disfellowshipping anymore. They're calling it being removed. And also, they're talking more and more about this checkbox ministry and how easy that is to just check the box and you're out in service. But let's just talk about disfellowshipping here for a second. The Watchtower organization is changing their position, their policy on disfellowshipping. Now, this is all in view of all of these countries, specifically Norway, that we discussed earlier. We'll discuss it again later tonight. But specifically, Norway has caused the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization to change their policies drastically in view of, it's all about money. If you really want to know the real problems in the world, get on the money trail. Because sometimes the money trail can, not sometimes, all times, the money trail will speak volumes. Now, let's just go with the disfellowshipping. Let's focus on that for a second. The disfellowshipping. Now, Norway has cut the Jehovah's Witnesses off let's go with this, $1.5 million. And I mentioned to you guys before, just in case you don't remember, maybe you just knew listening in. Jehovah's Witnesses in many countries in Europe get money from the government. They get money from the government. They call it charity. And what the government in these European countries do is they give these religions money for every member they have. I don't know, $10, $12 per head per witness. The Catholic Church gets money. All the churches get money. So if you're a viable religion, you can have your hands out in these countries. And Norway was giving the witnesses close to $1.5 million a year. But what happened in Norway is they were doing things the Norwegian government did not like, as we mentioned earlier. They were shunning people. And, why should the Norwegian government give money to an organization that shuns people and breaks families apart? So the Norwegian government decided that, no, we're not going to let the Jehovah's Witnesses get this money anymore. We're going to deregister them. So they actually took their registration away. So even in Norway to this day, a Jehovah's Witness elder cannot marry a Jehovah's Witness couple. That privilege has been taken away. I mean, that's not the biggest issue in the world. The biggest issue in the world, according to the Watchtower, is they're losing money. They don't want to lose money. So so now what they're doing, they're kind of downplaying the disfellowshipping. They wrote a letter. Now listen to this. The Jehovah's Witness organization, Watchtower, wrote a letter to the Norwegian government saying that, we really don't do this. We're going to change our policies in view of your concern. We're going to bend the rules a little bit, and we're not going to be so hard before we disfellowship someone. In the past, it was pretty cut and dry. We took them into a judicial hearing. Bingo, they were disfellowshipped. They're not going to do it. They're going to go a few times before they actually disfellowship someone. And they change the words. Now, this is what you call semantics. Semantics is simply just changing the words and making it sound like it's a different thing that's happening. So they're no longer going to call disfellowshipping. They're going to be calling it being removed. I mean, it's the same thing, right? I mean, what's the difference between removed and disfellowship? But they're trying to fool the Norwegian government, and they know other governments are crawling up their backside as well and looking to, not give them the money that they would like from the charities in Europe. So that's what's going on with disfellowshipping. Not only that, they also, under the same policy here of disfellowshipping, anybody that has been disfellowshipped, they're going to fast track the reinstatement process. In other words, Suppose you're a Jehovah's Witness, you've been disfellowshipped. There's been many listening to this program that were, and they tried for years trying to get back into the Watchtower. Never happened. Sometimes 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years and never got back in. Now the Watchtower is fast tracking reinstatement. So, in other words, if you have been disfellowshipped, and all you have to do is go to the elders and say, brother elder, I'm so sorry what I did. I didn't mean to do it, but I did it, but I'm sorry. Will you please forgive me? You're in, you're back. That's how easy it is. Now, the reason why they're doing this is because their numbers are hemorrhaging and they gotta bring new ones in. So they brought 63,000 disfellowship persons in the year 2023. They brought, well, actually, it'd be 2024 up to the service year. From January to the service year, which ended in August, they brought in 63,000 new witnesses that were disfellowshipped. So it's that easy now. So everything's getting easier in the witness world.
Rick, can I chime in here?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, King of Dots.
King of the Dots.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to say I apologize for last week. I doubted the veracity of someone who was being interviewed, and I pitched a hissy fit, because that's what I do, I've been known to do that. So I apologize, because you were right. You said out loud, I don't know if anything anybody says here is true on this channel. And you're absolutely 100% right. So I am going to try to prove the veracity of my actual existence by putting something out there on somebody's channel soon, so that people know that I'm not some fly-by-night person with a name that starts with O going around saying stupid stuff all the time. But I'm going to tell you this. I looked up a stat today, percentage today, Wisconsin. He's a guy whose wife died. He's up in Wisconsin now. I just said that. Anyway, the Atlantis, they were tied with the witnesses at about 8 million converts around the year 2000. They're up to 22 million. And they're distressed because they only gained 1,800,000 converts last year, but they lost 1.2 million. So they're trying to figure out what happened. Well, it's probably the same old, same old. The end of the world did not come. That will always leave you converts. So the SDA is losing people also. And I forgot my other point, but I can make other points other than the point I forgot. I'm into my third year retirement. Now, in the early 80s, you might recall this, Rick, they were just chastising people for planning for retirement. It's worldly. It's unspiritual. The end is so near. Why are so many brothers planning retirements in the early 80s? Well, thank God I left them with about 20 years to spare. And now I'm hearing there's people destitute all over the place. Witnesses who did not, they listened to the organization, and they're pretty much relying on social services to have a 1-bedroom apartment. It's just disgusting what they did to people. I don't care whatever else they teach and they go wrong. When you tell people they shouldn't plan for retirement and they don't, well, who's it on? That's on them, but it's on Watchtower also. And Watchtower will not help you, and they're probably discovering that, much to their dismay. And they might even be committing suicide because of it. So if JW Suicides is out there, listen to it. You go, girl, because you know your suicide stuff. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you, Rick, for being very knowledgeable beyond your years. You're only 39, as we know. So just keep up the good work.
Well, thank you. Thank you, King Dustin. It was good hearing from your wife.
Nothing but compliments.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm so happy to hear from Eve tonight. She should come on more often. She makes you look good. She makes you look good. Yeah. All right. Thank you. All right. So here we go. We have got another story, number 5. And we just talked about part of that number 5 story for the year 2024 was just fellowshipping. But the other part, it has to do with this checkbox ministry. You know, when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, we had to huff it. We had to pound on doors. We had to walk down the street, whether it was cold, whether it was hot. We had to walk down the street, pound on doors, and trying to squeeze every hour in we could. We were trying to get the magic number as a male in the organization. They wanted you to get 10 hours a month. If you're going to be a servant, you had to do it to maintain your servant position. But now we're realizing in 2024, the ministry is so easy. It's so easy. They call it checkbox ministry. So the service overseer, they have a little, well, we used to have the time report slips, right? We had to put down there the amount of hours, how many Bible studies, how many return visits, write the address of the person down, all of that. We don't have to do that anymore. I mean, we don't have to. I'm not a witness, but I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses don't have to do it. It's now called the checkbox ministry. All you do is they give you a piece of paper, and it has a little square. And did you participate in the ministry this month? You don't have to put down any hours. You don't have to put down any Bible return visits or anything like that, Bible studies. All you have to do is just check the box. No questions asked. Fine, you're a publisher. What the good? That is so easy. I mean, that's easy witnessing. That's easy for anybody to be a Jehovah's Witness. And that's what the organization has been doing through 2024. They've been taking the burden. They have been taking the burden off the witnesses' back. They did it with this fellowshipping, and now they've done it as well with the checkbox ministry. So when you stop and think about it, they're trying to make the Watchtower organization be more appealing to people. They want to make it look like, hey, it's actually fun to be a Jehovah's Witness. And with the videos and the music, and I mean, some of the things they're doing, in fact, I mentioned last week, you know what they're doing now to get people out in field service on Saturday? I don't know if you caught this last week, but what they're doing to get people out in field service on Saturday is they're serving breakfast at the Kingdom Hall. How do you like your eggs, Brother Farron? A little hard, please. You like bacon or you like sausage? I mean, they are now serving breakfast at the Kingdom Hall on Saturday morning for you to go out in service. What do you think of that? Well, I would have liked that. I would have liked to get breakfast on Saturday morning at the Kingdom Hall. So what it is that, the brothers and sisters are bringing their own food, and they're all associating early in the morning before service, and they're actually cooking up eggs and bacon and sausage and whatever you like. I mean, what's going on in this organization? Really, it's crazy, right? But I'm thinking, any way it would be. But I would think a lot of the witnesses would just come and, get the breakfast and leave, say, I'm going on a return visit, see you later. And, I wanted to bring up what the King of Dots was just talking about. He was talking about a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, because they didn't save for retirement, they couldn't go to school, they're falling through the cracks. So, there's going to be a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. It's like a soup kitchen, right? They'll show up for the free breakfast and then go home. He's right with that. In fact, we've been getting reports coming in here to the 6 screens of many Jehovah's Witnesses living in with each other now. The high cost of rent is disgusting. Up here in Boston, where I live, you wouldn't believe some of the prices that they want for a crummy little apartment, for just a room, just a little room. You could spend $800 a month for a decent apartment. You could spend $2,500 a month for a good apartment, $3,500 a month. And the witnesses, they never really got the good education. They never really got the good job. They're now living in with each other. There's many homeless witnesses. And like the King of Dots said, it's really sad that when someone busts their butt, gives all of their loyalty to an organization, in hopes that, the new system was going to be here and I wouldn't have to worry about anything. I'm going to live in a beautiful house. I'm going to have abundance of food. That never happened. That never happened. And I can see why many witnesses, even though they're not saying it, they are ticked off. Really. Wouldn't you be? I'm just glad that Satan kicked me out of the organization back in 2005. I have my own business, but they even trying to control that. They didn't want me doing certain things. I told you folks before, I'm in the sign business. I make signs, but I couldn't do certain things. I couldn't make political signs. I couldn't, do truck lettering for a church bus. They would be all over my case. So, you lose a lot of money because you wanted Jehovah's Witnesses. You really do. And, wouldn't you be ticked off right now if you were just about on the verge of homelessness and you're getting ready to go live in a tent by the river and you're saying, those bums, look what they did to me. They ruined me. And where's Armageddon? Well, where's this idea of I'm going to be living in paradise earth and petting the lions and the tigers and having abundance of food? You see the food they show in the Watchtower magazines. They show these women walking around with fruit baskets on their head. The grapefruits are as big as can be. I mean, come on. Let's get real with this. Now, that was a line of baloney. And now we get so many witnesses that are feeling what the Watchtower gave to them. And it wasn't a gift. The Watchtower caused so many people to go into poverty. It's sad. So, number 5, the checkbox ministry and disfellowshipping, things are changing. I wanted to bring that up tonight. Are there any thoughts on that at all? Would you have liked to go out in service and just check a box? Did you huff it? Did you really put forth a lot of effort to go up and down the street and knocking on doors all over the place? If you did, hit *6. I'd like to hear from you. Don't be bashful. I know we had some trouble, I think, with the phone lines here tonight. Nobody, I was checking it earlier. Maybe people can't talk as much as they'd like to, but I know you would like to, but I think there's some issues with the phone line coming in tonight. I'm going to check that out and see why. I was dealing with my wife's phone tonight and people couldn't dial in. If there's someone out there, just so I can make sure the phones are working right, would someone just hit *6 and see if that's working, please?
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I can. Yeah, let's go with Donnie. I think she's out of the UK. Go ahead, Donnie.
Oh, hi there. Yeah, I just wanted to say about this business about ticking, that you've been out on service or you've said something spiritual for 5 seconds a month. My friend, brother, he was getting, the elders were on his case. He's 90 years old, and they kept telling him, you're not putting enough hours in every month. It's not enough, these few that you're doing. Well, he's 90, lives on his own, has to do everything for himself. He can't afford to get the heating on, even in the winter. Nobody in the congregation is helping him. And then they came round and they threatened him because the hours are too low. We are going to reprove you, from the platform. And, he's in a terrible, stressful state telling me about this because he lives miles away. And 90 years old, this brother. And, so he's stressing he's going to be reproved. Nobody's going to talk to him or whatever. And, and then the following month, they make an announcement. Oh, all you have to do now is tick a box to say that you've did a bit of preaching. So that announcement came in just in time for him. But, it was really, really dishonourable the way they treated a 90-year-old brother that's been in their religion, supporting their religion for like 50 years. I thought that was disgusting.
Oh, Donnie, that is disgusting. It's just, but that is a great word. We use it a lot here on the 6 Screens. It is disgusting. I don't have many good words for the Watchtower, Donnie. I don't have a soft spot from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet for this organization. I really don't. No.
I know. Those elders, they're like control freaks. Who were they to tell a 90-year-old how many hours he should be doing? They don't live with him, do they? It's really, really bad. The power goes to the head.
Well, Donnie, last week, we had a couple I was talking about. I got information, came here to 6 Screens. They were both in their 80s. You know, they're having a hard time even walking. They're both kind of not totally disabled, but you know, it hurts. The older you get, the harder it is to walk around a neighborhood, right? And so,
Yeah.
anyways, so they were approached by an elder, and here they are, both the man and the woman. They're 80 years old, and so they were approached. In fact, I guess it was their son that told me this. So they were approached by an elder to pioneer. They said, "Why can't you guys pioneer? You're retired." So the old brother said, "Well, you know, I'm 80 years old. I'm having a hard time getting around. I can't do it." Why would you put pressure on a person like that? Jeez, you know?
It's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had brothers, brothers in their 70s in my town, in tears because the brother went to them to say, "Oh, you know, 50 years ago, I did this naughty thing," and they decide, "We're going to disfellowship you." You know, so this brother in his 70s, he's had a stroke, he can hardly walk. Nobody helps him. Nobody takes him to the meetings. And all they can do when he wants to get something off his chest that happened 50 years ago is say, "We're going to disfellowship you." I mean, he was in tears. He was suicidal, this brother. So me and another brother, this happened a couple of years ago, we had to do the appeal letter, you know, and get advice on what to write. And then the appeal committee changed their minds. But to have this brother in his 70s crying and being suicidal because of something he did 50 years ago that he volunteered to tell them, I was absolutely disgusted. You know, it was soon after that I left.
Well, Donnie, it's always good to hear from you. Thank you for calling in all the way from the UK. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Yeah, bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Donnie. Okay, bye-bye. Oh, yeah, that's Donnie. Well, who'd like to speak up? You're on with us. I think.
Hello, Rick.
Yes, I think that's Fran. Yes.
Hi, Rick. Yep, enjoying the program tonight and your countdown. But last one you were talking about was about service. And yes, we did go out in service. We put a lot of time in. And now we put time in on witnessing.
Well, see, that's time well spent.
Yes, we think so.
Yeah, so just explain for the audience. I mean, I know what unwitnessing it is, but you know, we got a lot of new. We've got some PMEs in here tonight. So why don't you explain to them what unwitnessing is?
Well, for example, we have a business, and so at the end of, you know, when we have our when we tell them about what they have to do with their clock and everything, we say we just have something on a different thought. And we give them our card that we've had printed. And we tell them that we were Jehovah's Witnesses, but we aren't anymore. And we give them the reason why we're not, because we found out about how they were hiding child sexual abuse, and that we are shunned by our own 4 children that we raised in the organization, and that we're here as a support for any that were Jehovah's Witnesses because of the high rates of depression and suicide. So we have a local support group as well as we do a worldwide support group, and people call us and we connect people so that they feel they have someone to talk to. So we really get a lot of good response from people. They said, "Oh, I never realized that about Jehovah's Witnesses." Or they would say, "Oh, I just, know they come to my door. I didn't realize all this." So we really do give a good witness, unwitnessing about them.
Well, good for you. That's commendable. Now, you're going to be coming on our program tomorrow at 2:00.
Yeah.
You're going to be coming on the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, share their story being in the Watchtower. But tomorrow now you're going to be talking about, was it spirituality after you leave the Watchtower?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, religion and spirituality. Yes, that's what we're going to talk about.
Well, good. I wanted to promote that a little bit. So you'll be on tomorrow at 2:00. So why don't you come in? Fran and Joe have done remarkable things, friends. They have brought so many people together, even in the 6 Screens. They've traveled all over the country, and talked to witnesses, ex-witnesses, that is, all over. So they'll be on tomorrow, and you'll hear more of what they're doing and what they feel. So by all means, tune in tomorrow, 2:00, right here on this YouTube and Facebook channel. Thank you. Did you want to say something else, Fran and Joe?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, there you go. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Well, folks, I have to tell you, things are moving in the right direction. We're counting down. We just went to number 5 for the top stories in the Watchtower for 2024. I'm going to bring this up for number 4. We're down to number 4. We're coming down to the top story for 2024. But number 4, I'm going to put just the word Ramapo. Now, I think most people know what that is when I say Ramapo. Well, Ramapo is a little town right next to Warwick, right next to the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses up in Warwick, New York. And Ramapo happens to be about a mile, not even that, from the world headquarters. And in Ramapo, the Jehovah's Witnesses bought 242 acres of land to build a million, I think it's 1.5 million square foot building. Now that's big. It's going to be a video studio. That's what the Watchtower's plans are. Now, whether they go through with it or not, we've been hearing this for going on 3 years. And, it's going to take a few years to build it, but it's a great fundraising way to get people to spend money. We need money for this. They're talking to build this studio. Now, I've heard figures. This studio to produce videos is going to run from $250 million to $500 million. Do you know how much $500 million is? That's $500 million, and it could go that high with the way construction costs are. And then they get the labor for free. So it's still going to cost them close to that to build this complex. But, they say they started it. They say they're going forward with it. But there's little evidence of it happening. I don't know if it's a scam or what it is. I can't really say for sure. But I know one thing, they're trying to get the witnesses to pony up, so to speak, and give them money. But this Ramapo, I got looking into it. I looked at the size of, Warner Brothers Studios out in California and the Disney Studios and Paramount. These are all, major studios that have been producing motion pictures for years. And some of their complexes and studios aren't as big as this one. That this is like, do they think they're Disney? Do they think they're Warner Brothers? I don't know what the Watchtower is thinking. How many? I really don't know. They want to go into the tele-evangelizing business. Now, they've always condemned that, but they want to set up studios and have the witnesses coming on just like they do that streaming now. And what they're hoping for, and I want you just to stop and think about it. The reason why I made this number 4 for the top stories, this is big. This is bigger than we think. This is the last hope the Watchtower has. This is it. If they can't pull this off, they're a dead duck. They're a dead religion. They've got to move forward. People are not going to buy the Watchtower organization. But what they're hoping to do in Ramapo is produce these very, like Hallmark videos, right? Family oriented, something for the kids, something for mom and dad, easygoing, nothing, extravagantly, disgraceful or risque or anything. And so they're hoping to get people, wow, that's a good organization. They produce good stuff. Boy, I think our whole family should sit down and watch it. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to sucker people into listening to it on this good side, so to speak, when the rest of the world, they have no idea listening into this occultic organization. So I had to bring Ramapo up. They've been working now for years. I think there's a lot of corruption going on up there. I think they're paying people off to get this thing built. It's a big complex. We'll see. I'm not going to tell you it's going to happen. It's going to take 3 years to build. And that's even the other thing that's got a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses concerned. I mean, Armageddon's supposed to be around the corner. Armageddon's supposed to come any minute. Why would you build this? So the answer the Watchtower is giving to the rank and file witness is, well, we're going to build it because Jehovah's going to let us use it in the new system. We're going to have to communicate with the people. That they always come up with some smart alecky excuse, right? But just stop and think about it. Would you spend upwards of $500,000 with Armageddon coming? They told us, I mean, I can remember a district overseer, and he's at a convention. He says, brothers and sisters, why would you want to invest in this world? This was back in the 1960s. Why would you want to invest in this world? It'd be like rearranging the furniture on the Titanic. It's going down. That was back in the 1960s. Here it is, 2024, and they're investing in this $500 million property. Go with that, up there in New York. Yes. What do you think? Go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to say, Rick, it's an investment property, like all of the properties, all the Kingdom Halls, all the big convention places that they've had. All of them are investment properties. And that's really what it is. There's absolutely 100% no need for Ramapo. With the AI, with all the technology out here, you don't need a $500 million studio to do stupid ass YouTube videos. You know what I mean? It's a total con job. The people are getting conned again. Just like Watchtower, build it for almost nothing and then sell it for quadruple. It's in a prime place, in a prime resort kind of an area with a lake on it. I mean, this is a prime piece of real estate. And it's the same thing here in Boise. All these big temples around here, man. There's 2 huge temples. They're bigger than the Capitol building. And I'm like, what are these for? And some guy said, they're real estate, dude. They're real estate. That's what they do. They're investors. These are monster buildings. And I'm just like, wow. And Watchtower's just following suit. And I want to say this too, Rick. The reason they're setting up Ramapo, I agree with you. It is a last resort. But the paradigm of going door to door and meetings don't fit. Even Christians, even if it goes Christian, fundamentalist Christian, no Christian is going to walk into a Kingdom Hall. So they're completely of no value. And to have a breakfast for people and then tell them to go out and stand with a cart and not witness to anybody is total foolish. So what are they doing? What are they doing? Why are they telling witnesses to go stand in parks? Just go out there and hang out. Because, Rick, they're putting everything in place. They've got them hooked, chained, cemented to their iPads. They got their bank accounts locked in. They've got everything ready. They've got whoever grandma's got a house. They've got that locked in. These guys are ready for a 9/11. These guys are ready for the next big calamity, and they're going to sell off those halls. They even got the realtors in place. They've even got the money in place, where they got the big, sort of A.G. Edwards Foundation with all their buildings. So they have got everything in place. They don't need a Kingdom Hall. The Seventh-day Adventists got an antenna on their house, and they watch it from their homes. Most of them are seniors. They don't want to go to church. The churches are empty. And so those buildings are of no value. So this is excellent planning on the part of Watchtower. They've already got them converted. They've already making the changes. So, next calamity, you watch what happens. You watch what happens to 50% or even more of those Kingdom Halls. It's going to be a big sell-off. What do you think, Rick?
Well, I agree 100%. I couldn't say it better myself, Dan. That's exactly what's going to happen. The organization. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. What you said is 100% true.
I want to add an extra thing to what Dan said, and it just sticks in my brain. I studied with someone back in the early 90s. He would sit in the front row of the Kingdom Hall. He was a white wizard. I got him to get rid of his wizard staff and all that crap. He knew the Bible better than me. He showed me stuff in the interlinear I didn't know existed, where they changed the word believe to exercising faith. I didn't know that existed. He woke me up, actually. This white wizard did. Anyway, after I left the Kingdom Hall in 2004, I started trying to hang out with him. And he was playing guitar for a band, and had a big backyard concert, literally 2 miles from a Kingdom Hall, the Loveland, Ohio Kingdom Hall. And everybody didn't know me. There were like 100 people, and they kept asking, "How do you know Bernie? How do you know him?" I said, "Well, I used to study with him. I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses when I was there." And I said, "Who's that?" No one in the whole damn concert knew the hell who Jehovah's Witnesses were. They were 2 miles from a Kingdom Hall. This is a fact. I'll never get over that. It gave me a lot to think about. How effective has Witnesses preaching work, their magazine work been? It's virtually zilch. And I think they've come to that conclusion themselves that it's nothing. So they're making other plans and just sitting there by a stand doing nothing. Some of the people I used to know at the last Kingdom Hall I went to are standing up at the bank. And a friend of mine tells me, "Yeah, that asshole standing up by the bank next to the card all day." This is just ridiculous. The preaching work is a total failure. I swear on the name of Yahweh myself, it's a total failure. It's a fact. And that's what's going on here. They know it too. Okay, I'm out of here. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say one thing on King of Dots. It's
You're allowed to talk. Go ahead.
Okay. We worked our butt off to get somebody in there. I mean, we didn't just go to their door and preach. We gave them money. We bought them gas. I don't know about you, Rick. You probably did the same. But we helped them any way we could. We bought people suits. We took them to the to the meetings. We really took care of those people. We really nurtured them to get those those guys in there. But like King of Dots says, just to stand next to a cart and look like a dummy. I mean, there's another plan going on. They're just giving the witnesses something to do while they fleece them, while they take everything they have, and they're going to take everything, even their Kingdom Halls, even the ones they've got left, and whatever else they can get. These guys are thieves, and they're being exposed. And what's cool about America is so many people are waking up. So many people here. Maybe there's not the big court deals going on and all the big wins here, but man, millions of people are walking away from this organization. You can see them all over Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. They're just coming out. I see new faces every day, and they're coming out from under the agreement that they made and I made when we come in. We came out of agreement. We came into agreement when we came in there. The two things we did was, one, said governing body was the faithful slave, and we came into agreement with that, which means we subjected ourselves to slavery, and then they took us over. And then we ended up in their ping pong machine being batted around by governing bodies, scripturally batting. If we got a little loose, they sent us into Old Testament. They want us to feel a little good, they gave us the drug of the New Testament. We were bounced around in there like pinballs. And now that we're out, thank God we're out of that matrix, out of that, that trance they put us in, that spelling. And we're spelling it out for ourselves. Watchtower don't spell nothing out for us anymore. We've left their spell. We don't need them to spell things out. We spell it out for ourselves through our own study, our own meditation, and our own prayer.
Well, you got it right.
Thank God we're free, huh, Rick?
I thank God every day, Dan. I thank God every day. It really was a chore. Being one of Jehovah's Witnesses was like having another job, and you hated it, and you had to go through it all the time. But being out is like, wow, you feel so free. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, I have to tell you, number 3. So Ramapo was number 4. Now we're counting down to the top stories in the Watchtower for 2024. And I got to bring up, there was a man that I always referred to. I never knew what his real name was. I would always talk with him using a fictitious name. I did not know where he lived. I did not have his telephone number, but he would write me letters, and he would give me the reminders and the announcements. Remember, we used to talk about that all the time for a number of years, and he would send me things that were going on in the Watchtower, these announcements and reminders. And if you folks remember, when you went to the meetings as Jehovah's Witness, we used to hear that every week. There was always announcements and reminders, and somehow Atlantis was getting this information and putting it out on the internet and giving it to me. And we had conversation through email numerous times. And I wanted to say that in August of last year, Atlantis got terrible cancer. I have not been in touch with him. I've heard nothing about him. I miss him. And the last I heard, he went into a real bad coma. And I don't think he has recovered from that. But I've been trying to find information on him. And, that's one of the problems you have when you are in the ex-witness world. And we've had so many people even come on our program that have used fictitious names. There's no way to get a hold of everybody. But if Atlantis is out there, I want him to know he's helped us a lot. So in my way of thinking, he was one of the biggest stories that I wanted to bring up. It was so sad when I heard that he was stricken. In fact, I heard he was on life support at one point in August, but I never heard anything since then. I've looked up things. I've tried to find out what happened to him, but I can't find it. I have no idea what happened to our good friend Atlantis. Well, I hope Atlantis is doing fine wherever he is. I really hope that's the case. Now, number 2, let's move down to the number 2 story in the Watchtower. We're counting down to the number 1 story, but let's go with the number 2 story in the Watchtower. And it has to do, it's like a twofold story, but I got to bring this up because this really floored everybody. Everybody the telephone lines lit up, and this seems to be what everyone wanted to talk about. And it had to do with a new governing body member. The governing body's member, his name is Jody Jadell. Now, a lot of people didn't know who Jody Jadell was, but anyways, he lived at Wallkill and in Patterson. He had 2 addresses. He was an official with the Watchtower to some degree. He was born in 1970, and Jody Jadell is really a man that knows how to handle money. He's a management specialist. He manages people's investments. He's a real estate expert, really. So Jody Jadell, all of a sudden, this year in 2024, becomes a governing body member in the Jehovah's Witness organization. Now, at first, I didn't think too much about it till I did a little research on Jody Jadell. And as I said, Jody Jadell is a big time, I'm going to call him a tycoon. I mean, this guy, he's not poor. Let me put it that way to you. He knows how to manage money. And so anyways, he's involved in this company, a commercial real estate investing company. Now, he's also working along with the Watchtower, we learned. The Watchtower, back in the summer of 2024, and I couldn't believe it when I first heard it, but the governing body, I should say the Watchtower organization, they developed in Ireland an asset managing company for people who have wealth and not necessarily only Jehovah's Witnesses. So I'm wondering, what is Watchtower doing in the asset management company? But yet, nonetheless, they set one up. And according to an Irish newspaper, it's like the Wall Street Journal here, but this Irish newspaper that I've been reading from, it said that the Watchtower organization has $7 billion. Now, evidently in assets from people who were investing with them. So, this is not the organization is not poor. Now, it might not be all their money, but according to the paper, in fact, it was saying the Watchtower's assets are $7 billion. But understand something, liquid assets and physical non-liquid assets are 2 different things. A person can really be really rich asset-wise. They got a house worth $10 million, but they got $1,000 in the bank. So they're not liquid. So it gives us a little insight to the Watchtower, where this Irish newspaper is saying that the Watchtower has $7 billion in assets. That's a lot of money, folks, a lot of money. And you say, well, how do they ever get that money? It's from you and me and all of us out there that gave them the money. But, when that story first broke, that that the Watchtower actually was involved in an asset management company, you know, that's pretty worldly when you stop and think about it. No, there's nothing wrong with investing money, but really, should a religion step out and formulate an asset management company? These are questions that have to be asked. I mean, would Jesus do it? I mean, if you're supposed to be this Christian organization, would you set up? You know, you're supposed to be disseminating meat in due season. You're supposed to be disseminating spiritual food. I mean, when you set up an asset management company, what is wrong with that? A lot's wrong with that. I mean, if I was still a witness, that would be enough to drive me to the exit door at the Kingdom Hall, without a doubt. That would. I don't see any benefit. I mean, in a spiritual way, for a religious organization to set up an asset management company. I don't see any benefit at all. But the Watchtower did it, and they're getting away with it, and evidently nobody made a big stink about it. That doesn't make sense to me, friends. That would be enough to drive me, and I'm sure many others, to the exit door. And then this Jody Jadell, I mean, a governing body member. Now look at, to be a governing body member, you have to be anointed. That's a known fact in the Watchtower world. So Jody Jadell claims he was anointed, but you can claim that. That's all you have to do. Oh, I'm anointed, and I get my hours in every month. Please, please, please make me a governing body member. Well, that seems to be what happened. I mean, I don't, this guy pops up out of nowhere and all of a sudden becomes a governing body member. I mean, come on. I can't believe what's taking place in the Watchtower. It really is something that we want to talk about. That's why I made this a number 2 story. It's just absolutely shocking to me that a religion that I once lived and died for, seriously, I would have died for the Jehovah's Witness religion years ago, and now I'm looking at what it has become. It's very disappointing. That's why we do the program. I know it's a scam. I know the Watchtower leaders. I know their advisors. I know the top officials of this organization. They're not a religion, folks. I've been saying this for years. They're a business. They're a business masquerading as a religion. They're blatantly turning their religion into a full-time business. I'll say it again. The Jehovah's Witness organization Watchtower is blatantly turning their religion into a full-time business. That's all it is. It's nothing to do with spirituality. It's nothing to do with Jesus. It's nothing to do with Christianity. It's all about money. And Jody Jadell becoming a governing body member would be enough to really get me thinking a lot about this. I mean, how is it he was even remotely considered to be a governing body member? I mean, you and I, we couldn't go to school. You couldn't go and take a real estate school. You couldn't go to real estate school. You couldn't go to finance school. You couldn't go to business school. But we have this guy that's some big shot in the finance world land up as a governing body member. Does that make sense to you? I mean, I don't get it.
Fair.
Yes.
Hey, this is Stephen again.
Yeah.
As you've been talking, I just kind of made a list of the bad advice from this organization and the outcome that it would have had to people. And it's so disrespectful, in my opinion, what you just said, because spiritual qualifications be damned. This person was put in that place because of his real estate experience. The hypocrisy of telling the rank and file for all these decades, you're preaching no education or at a minimum very low education. And here you have a person that does the complete and total exact opposite. He is online. You can go and watch the video now where he is discussing these high-end real estate certificates that he's achieved. And I was with the real estate company for 18 years. I know exactly what these certificates are. It takes a lot of money. And more importantly, it takes a lot of time to acquire these certificates, because once you have them, I mean, the amount of money that you can then command is unimaginable. So all the while where you're telling millions of these people, no education, low education, this person does the exact opposite. And then this is the person you then go and put, as you just said, in the role of a governing body member. And unfortunately, this will fly right over the heads of any of the PMEs. They won't understand anything that we're talking about. But for those of us who can understand and see this very clearly, how disrespectful this is. We can tell you not to do anything to uplift yourself, and then another person who does the complete opposite, ignores the advice that we make, we'll put that person in charge of everybody else. I don't even have words for that. How disrespectful that is, how ignorant you have to be to sit there and allow yourself to be led by this organization. I just don't have words for it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we could insulting. Yeah,
I think the vocabulary word for today is hypocrisy.
Always. Always. And I'll tell you one last thing, and if I'm too long-winded, just let me know. This business with this Irish company, the person that they hired, because after leaving real estate, I worked for another company. They were owned by a very large bank. And even though I was not in that field, I still had to take classes annually. And they were all about money laundering and all these kinds of things. And they would, as a part of the class, read actual news headlines of banks that were being fined for violating the very things they're educating us on not to break. And one of them was always USB. And at one point, they received the largest fine because of corrupt practices, money laundering and hiding money in offshore accounts and all the rest. And this is the company that they went and hired, the person from the risk department, to run this new thing down in Ireland. Now, what does that tell you if you have half a brain? If you have just 1/4 of a brain, what does that tell you about this organization that you would go to a corrupt bank, a very well-known, probably one of the top 10 corrupt banks right there next to Credit Suisse and Wells Fargo and the rest, and you hire their head of risk management to go and run your department down there in Ireland? What does that tell you? I mean, it's you just want to bang your head against the wall. It's like you can't see that. What do you need, a neon sign?
Well, they had a neon sign. They got rid of it.
Well,
that's right. I forgot about.
Well, that's interesting you say that, but you say, what would you call it? I could come up with a little axiom or a little, well, maybe a little colloquialism. It would be birds of a feather flock together.
Feather flock together.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean,
exactly my point.
Yeah.
That's exactly my point.
Yeah.
That is it. If you were a legitimate business, you would stay as far away from USB and Wells Fargo and the Vatican Bank. You'd stay away from those. You'd run from them as fast as you can. What do? They go and hire the head of that department to run their department. So, there you go.
They got departments within departments, I think.
Oh, sure. But it's like my old boss used to say, you can't fix stupid. So, it is what it is.
Well, you mentioned something, Steph, that got my attention. You said that the PME, the loyal Jehovah's Witness, this flies right over their head. That they have, that they can't, they don't get it. It's just, I mean, they don't understand any of this. They're just oblivious to it. I mean, I've learned so much about the Watchtower. I learned 1,000 times more now that I'm out than when I was in. But, like I said earlier, I would have died at one time for this organization. I really would have. And most people listening to this program would have too. We were totally committed. We would have put our life on the stake because of Jehovah's organization. And look at today.
Now, I want to ask Stefan, did you get invited to the Pioneers Not Christmas party, Stefan?
No, I didn't. And
well, I got a call today. It's the third year in a row that a friend of mine bragged about the wonderful party they had today. I wasn't invited.
No,
we're supposed to stay home and be Puritans while they have it after the 25th party. How about that?
Well, that was another thing that used to bother me was the hypocrisy. I went to, I think it was around Thanksgiving, and there was a gentleman there and everybody was eating and drinking and everything, watching football and drinking beer. And this person really wouldn't eat or drink anything. So I just thought, I didn't know what to think. So finally his uncle asked him, he says, hey, why don't you go upstairs and get a big plate of food and this and that? And he goes, no, that's okay. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. So I asked him, I said, oh, are you a Jehovah's Witness? He said, a Jehovah's Witness? He said, no. And he said it was such contempt. And I said, well, you said you didn't celebrate. I just assumed. He said, no. And he was a Muslim. I said, oh, I didn't know Muslim. So he was telling me about it. I said, oh. I said, well, he said, yeah. He said, so if I don't celebrate, I'm not going to eat the food. So then his uncle said, well, why don't you just take a big plate home tomorrow? He says, because it's still, you made this for Thanksgiving. I don't celebrate Thanksgiving, so I'm not going to eat it today or tomorrow or any other day, but that's okay. I appreciate it. I'll come back some other time and I'll have dinner. And that really, I had to take a pause and kind of think about that because we never did that.
We've all been there, but now we just call it Super Bowl food.
We would still eat the food. We would still take the Christmas bonus. Right after Halloween, we'd take half the candy home that was given to us. We should have been rejecting that stuff totally, but we never.
I was that kid. I was that kid that did like the neighbor you had there. I was the one that was in the corner because I not supposed to partake of these things.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking saying, well, what about those people that had the ski lodge? They were witnesses and they went up there at Christmas week, and I missed out on a lot of fun being a good witness kid.
Yeah, so it's strange, but it's like anything, you can take the Bible and you can play it like a fiddle. So that's what we do. Anyway, turning it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Pixie. Yeah, in fact, I got thinking as you guys were talking, the old Jehovah's Witness religion is gone. And I really hope that nobody is wishing to go back in because, it's only in your dreams. It's not the organization you came out of. This is a whole new company. So I say that, if you're listening into this program tonight, think about it. Think about it. This is not God's organization. Well, we're counting down now to the top story. We went down from the top 10, and now we got the top story in the Watchtower for 2024. Now, would anyone like to take a guess what it would be? Would anyone?
Beards?
What's that, Pixie?
Beards.
No. Well, the story really that got the most buzz when I would go through JW World News for the last year, the story that always popped up, it's been discussed by all these YouTubers, and the story they were talking about mostly was Norway. That was the top. Now, I'll tell you, a lot of things have happened, and the reason why I made it number one is because of the big changes the Watchtower made because of Norway. And just to give you an idea, and I mentioned earlier why Norway was ticked off with the witnesses and wouldn't give them their charity money of $1.5 million a year because they were shunning. And now there's other countries following suit. They want to do the same thing Norway did and cut the Watchtower off from funding. So Watchtower is having panic attacks over this. So the real story of Norway happened in 2023, but the ramifications or the repercussions of Norway are extending into 2024. And what I found of major newsworthiness is the letter that was sent to Norway, to the government of Norway, the letter that was sent telling Norway, this is from the Watchtower now, a letter sent from the Watchtower telling Norway how they are changing their practice of disfellowshipping. I'm going to read you. I got the letter right in front of me. And this really is a big story because Watchtower is trying desperately to get back in to the financial arrangement of being paid in Norway. And it's hurting them badly. And now they're thinking other European countries are going to follow suit. But let me read you this. This is to the Norwegian government. Let me get to the bottom line here. I'm going to read you. So the Watchtower writes, this was back in October, 24th, 2024, just a couple of months ago. So the Watchtower writes the Ministry of Children and Family Affairs in Oslo, Norway. It says here, decisions on denial of state subsidies and loss of registrations for Jehovah's Witnesses, adjustments in Jehovah's Witness religious practices regarding limited contact with a person has been removed from the congregation, being removed from the congregation. So they're explaining to the Norwegian government that they're taking a position. They're putting it in writing. They are saying that they're going to change their position on how they deal with the disfellowship one. So then it goes on and it says removal from the congregation now remains a last resort. Friends, as many times I know people that did something wrong, wasn't even that bad. They went into one judicial committee hearing, you're gone, bounce him out, disfellowship him. So what Watchtower is saying now, that's going to be the last resort, is to disfellowship someone. This is right in writing. I'm reading it verbatim to the Norwegian government. And then they come on and they say that before considering whether someone should be removed from the congregation, the elders will hold several meetings with the person who has committed a serious sin in an effort to help him or her restore their relationship with God. Now, when informing an unrepentant sinner that they will be removed from the congregation, the elders will explain that they would like to meet with them again in a few months. So your first visit into a judicial committee hearing, you're not going to be disfellowshipped. So many people were disfellowshipped in their first judicial committee hearing. That's no longer the case. It says if a person is willing to have a new meeting, the elders will warmly encourage them to repent and return, even if the person has not changed their attitude or the elders. Hold on one second. Let me get that right here. It just my computer kind of slipped on me. So they're saying that even if the witnesses, well, they're going to have more than one meeting. Just go with that. You're not going to be disfellowshipped on your first time out. So, and they're also saying that when it comes to a child, and this was really what Norwegian government was bent out of shape about, when it comes to a child, a minor, let's go with that. Someone 17, 16, 17, 18 being kicked out of his house. Norwegian government didn't like that. But now the Watchtower is telling the Norwegian government that they're going to lighten up on that. They're not going to be so quick to do that. In fact, it's rarely going to even happen. They're going to work with the parents and the child or the minor to get things settled. So it's a lengthy letter, but that's kind of the meat of it. But the Watchtower had to make some adjustments in the disfellowshipping edict, the disfellowshipping policy to accommodate the likings of the Norwegian government in hope of getting that money back. So that's what's happening. I'm going to make that the number one story, even though it's been going on for a couple of years. But it's that letter that really changed the dynamics of the Watchtower organization for 2024. That's what changed it. So that's kind of fascinating. Well, anyone have any thoughts on that? So we counted down. From, the top 10 stories in the Watchtower organization. I'm not sure. I believe Dick and Constance were to come on tonight, but I don't see them. Was it Eric? I'm not sure. My YouTube schedule here shows it was.
We're on.
Okay, I
wasn't
sure, Dick. If you spoke up, I was going to ask you, but I wasn't sure. I knew it was you guys, but I haven't heard from you, so I thought maybe they're not going to come on. So that's good, Dick. Anything in particular you're going to be talking about tonight?
Yeah, we're going to talk about a theme that runs through the Watchtower, starting with C.T. Russell to the current day. And that theme is they're very, very greedy and they're very, very perverted. And we have to use the telephone. We're having problems with the computer.
No, we're okay.
Okay. Well, Connie says we're okay, so I guess we are. So I'm ready to go when you are.
All right, Dick. Well, I think what we'll do is we'll have a couple of questions in our duck game. I know people look forward to it, so we'll play our duck game and see if we can get some people to answer the correct terms here. Let me just grab my notes. I got them here somewhere. Got a lot of papers piling up here. Let me get my notes and see if we can't get some questions answered. And let's see what we got here. Just give me a second. You guys hang on, and we'll get it. Okay, I can't find my questions. Okay. Hold on one second, folks. I just gotta find my questions. I had them here a second ago, but it's kind of disappeared a little bit. Okay, here they are. These are the ones I'm looking for, so that's good. All right. Okay, so anyways, I don't want you to answer it until the music stops. I want you to win some points. Those that can answer the question win a point. Keep your points. You're going to have to, use your own scorecard. Be on the honor system. Those that reach 12 points will get $100. We've already given some money away here on the 6 screens. If you get 12 points, you have to add them up. You get $100. And if you get 5 points, you get a book. 2 points, you get a magnet. Now, I have sent books out to people, and sometimes I get them back. And so if you do win books or you win prizes, make sure you give me the right snail address to mail them to so that, they don't come back here. So make sure I get the right address. Make sure you get it correctly. Dot all the I's, cross all the T's. So we get that. So anyways, let's ask our first question here tonight. And now remember, too, if we do get a winner, all the points that ones have accumulated go back to zero. Okay, so you can't. When we get a winner, you go back. It's like the lottery, right? When you go back, when you get a winner, it all goes back to square one. So let's ask the first question here. All right, tonight, but don't answer until the music stops. And the question is, now don't answer till the music stops. What I want you to do is tell me, what's the name of the cemetery that Charles Taze Russell is buried in? What's the name of the cemetery? Boy, I'm surprised. Surprised no one.
Allegheny County.
No. Rosemont. You got it. Who's that? Is that Robert?
That's me, Robert.
All right, Robert. Well,
That's right, I guess.
You got it. Well, it's a good guess, actually. It was a good guess. All right, I'm going to ask you the next question. What is directly across the street from Charles Taze Russell's gravesite?
Masonic Temple.
Masonic Lodge. Masonic Lodge.
I think JP's got it. JP, give yourself a point.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so JP, you got a point on that one. There's a big Masonic lodge. In fact, they're one of the biggest in the whole state of Pennsylvania. I think it's the biggest one in Pennsylvania. So that's kind of interesting. All right, so let's ask another one here. Now, we all knew if you went to the Guinness Book of World Records, there was a book that's listed as the most published book of all times. We all know what it was. I mean, I'm not even going to use that as a question because it's too easy. That was a truth book. We all knew the truth book was the most published book in Watchtower history. But the question is, what was its nickname? What was the
Blue
truth?
bomb?
Oh, the blue bomb.
The blue pill.
Well, I gotta
The
play.
blue bomb.
I gotta kind of use the same rules Jeopardy uses. It was very close. You guys were very close, but they actually called it the blue bombshell. The blue.
I said the blue bomb.
I know, but not good enough, Nadine. No, in other words, we got to go by what they called it. They called it the blue bombshell. So sorry. I mean, I don't want to be.
Well, some people would shorten it and say the blue bomb.
Well, they might, but the official term, was the blue bombshell. I'd love to give it to you, Nadine. We love you, but the thing is, I got to stay. I'm playing by the rules of Jeopardy, so I got to stay with that. All right. So, anyways, let's go to the next question. All right. So let's go with this. Here we go. The question is, if you went to a convention these days, I want you to give me the official colors of the apron. Now, there's two colors. The parking attendants wear a certain color. It's like an apron or a vest. Call it a vest. What color, two colors, are the vest of the parking attendants?
Chartreuse
and orange.
There was two colors. Robert, what did you say?
Chartreuse and orange.
You got it. You got it. Give yourself a
Thank you, Rick.
Robert, are you looking this
Oh, wait,
stuff?
I have a protest here.
Yeah.
I agree with everything that has happened there. But these questions, these answers would never come up during the normal news.
Well,
we want to, these are not the words that would come up during the normal news. That's what you're supposed to be doing, right? The duck's supposed to come down. We're supposed to get excited and laugh about it. But the aprons.
Well, I mean, we never really said they had to be brought up on the news. These are just general, Watchtower questions. But maybe I'll give you an easy one, Zach.
But think about it. It's been months and months since somebody said a word during the normal news, and the duck came down. It's been months.
Yeah, nobody's.
I mean, did it happen in 24 at all?
Well, no, nobody said it. Nobody mentioned Rosemont Cemetery tonight. Nobody.
Well, just making the point. A word that might come up during the news. Okay.
Well,
that was it.
Well, in the future, I will do that. But geez, I don't want to make it.
No, it's okay. It's whatever you do is fine. It's the end of 24. The issue had to be raised. Okay.
Right.
Now
I'm gonna give you a real easy one. I'm gonna give you a real easy one. Okay. Zach, I want you to get a point here. I know it's beginning. I know it's beginning to hurt you that you didn't get a point yet. But you hang in because I think you can get this one because
No. Do your thing. Do whatever you do. Go
All right. So, anyways, this was a book that Joseph Rutherford wrote, and in the book, he said, "Why would you want to marry a bag of bones and a hank of hair?" What book did he say that in? Hold on one second. Why would you want to marry a bag of bones and a hank of hair? Okay. What book?
Million Shall Living Will Never Die.
No. It was a blue.
Win friends and influence people.
Well, it was
Studies in the scriptures.
Well, it was a terrible statement to make, but he made it. I believe it was back in 1941, and he was actually saying that it'd be best not to get married. Hold on, someone's got their phone going nutty here. Hold on.
I think it's us, Rick.
Okay.
Rick, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's when I have the computer set up for the show. Vindication?
No, but what I'll give you another clue. This book was written back in the 40s, and this is when the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Watchtower, that is, they did not want you to have children. What was the name of the book?
Was it
Vindication?
No, it was the children book. Zach, give yourself a point. It was the children book. Yeah, I thought you guys would have got that. All right, well, I think we're going to end it there, but that's okay. But I'm going to take Zach's advice. So next week, what I'm going to do in the course of doing the news, I'm going to have that. So I'm going to have a secret word in the envelope that's in the news. All right. Thank you, Zach. Thank you all for playing. I want to thank everyone for coming into JW World News tonight. I really do. I really appreciate the presence. We had a good audience tonight. We had a good time here. And I want you guys to keep standing tall. Don't you ever give in, up or out. Keep waving the flag of victory. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. Please turn off the new light. We're going to Dick and Constance, exposing the Watchtower. Coming up next. Stay with us on the same YouTube and Facebook channel. Thank you very much.